Hello everyone, and welcome to my final video of 2025. This is going to be a recap of the finds that I had throughout the 2025 season, and this is going to include some VCLT that I also got throughout the year, so stay tuned, and I will go over what I got. Hello everyone, Daryl the Northern Vinyl Guy, coming at you with a, year in recap video. And just some VCLT stuff that I got throughout the year, some vinyl finds that I thought were interesting. And so with that in mind, here we go. I've got about 22 records or so to show. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Christmas Day of 2024. I know that it's not in 2025, but it is relevant because it would be the final record that I got as a gift in 2024, leading me into the new year. So I did receive Green Day's Dookie. I have talked about this, and kind of a cool story. Back when I was in high school, I won a shop award in grade 10, and back in my high school, if you won an award, they gave you like a certificate or whatever to the local store, and I bought this on CD. It was one of the first CDs that I ever had, so it's really cool that I got this. Got this one from my wife, and of course this has all their, punk hits from the early 90s. Longview, Basket Case, She, When I Come Around, all those tracks. And every time I take a look at this cover, I always find something new. So Green Day's Dookie is how I went out of 2024. So what are some things that I got in 2025? Well, I think that my favorite purchase probably that I got has to be Van Halen's Balance. I think it's a really awesome album. I know not everybody is into the Sammy Hagar era of Van Halen, but I think that this is fantastic. Probably because I was in high school when this came out, and it's on a really cool orange vinyl. I've shown this in previous videos, but it's got that etched side 4 with the Leonardo da Vinci picture of the Venetian man and all that kind of stuff. Really neat. This one has Can't Stop Loving You, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, Not Enough, and actually The Seventh Seal, which is a fantastic lead-off track. So yeah, if you are into 90s Sammy Hagar, Van Halen, then this is definitely a good album to go with. At the same token, I also purchased Live's Mental Jewelry album, probably about halfway through the year. I showed recently the Throwing Copper album, which is one of my top 5 or 10 albums of the 90s. I actually prefer this one to the Throwing Copper album. It's their pretty much their first album live. And kind of has more of that, maybe Tibetan style that they were going for on it. I think it's an underrated album of theirs, but definitely in my opinion, their top 3 albums. Probably my favorite, like I said, live album. So this one has like Pain Lies on the Riverside, The Beauty of Grey, Operation Spirit. Those were, I believe, the main singles from this. So if you haven't checked this one out, definitely give it a listen. Mental Jewelry by Live. This next one I found, I wasn't even really looking for this, and it just kind of caught me off guard that I saw it in a record store in North Bay, Ontario. Never would have thought that they would have had it in a place like that. And this is a repress, but talking about the 90s, Tonic's Lemon Parade, which I've shown recently in the last couple of months on my channel, for me, this is a pretty much perfect album from start to finish. They were known for If You Could Only See, so they're pretty much a one-hit wonder of the 90s, but really good song. Soldier's Daughter is fantastic. Lemon Parade, the title track, Mr. Golden Deal, Wicked Soldier. They're all wonderful tracks, but like I said, pretty much perfect from start to finish. So that was a good find, and I got it for a really, like I said, a decent price. And it is a repress, but that doesn't matter. All right, speaking of albums that I was looking for, and I found it because it was on my Grail list. I couldn't do this without talking about Glass Tiger, and I definitely will be talking about Glass Tiger again later on in this video, but this is the Simple Mission album. It's their third one from 1990. It's the one that has Animal Heart on it and My Town, which features Rod Stewart on it, but it also has Rescued by the Arms of Love, which was another single. If you are into Glass Tiger, or if you haven't really heard Glass Tiger, I wouldn't go with this one as a starting point. I would probably start with The Thin Red Line, but nonetheless, this is a Spanish press out of Europe, and yeah, just kind of adds to the collection of Glass Tiger that I have. My favorite Canadian band, Simple Mission. And speaking of favorite albums, this is my favorite Bruce Springsteen album, Tunnel of Love, from I think it's 1987, if I remember correctly. Underrated album. We talked about this on our Wednesday night show, Northern Revolutions, Live from the Basement, that, you know, if you were to poll 50 Bruce Springsteen fans what their favorite Bruce Springsteen album would be, everybody would give you a different answer. And so once again, this is my favorite. Of course, Tunnel of Love, the title track, is amazing. This has Brilliant Disguise, which is amazing, but my favorite track on here is One Step Up, which I think is a wonderful song. As I mentioned, this is another one of those, to me, pretty much near perfect albums from start to finish, side 1 and side 2. Side 2 is definitely, for me, a perfect side. So, Bruce Springsteen's Tunnel of Love, if you haven't checked that out. Now, some of you are going to roll your eyes. This is where you might click the stop button, but you know what? I don't care. Most people say that this is a horrible album with a horrible song. In fact, it's rated as one of the most horrible songs of all time. But me and Rob from Northern Revolutions, we tend to agree on this, that it's a good song, and I don't understand what the whole hate for this is. Starship, Knee Deep in the Hoopla with We Built This City, which I think is a great song. Corny video, but it's a good song, and it's a good album. We Built This City. And Sarah is also on here, the other single, which I think is a good song. So, yeah, I was happy to pick this up, and I got it for, cheap price. So, Starships, Knee Deep in the Hoopla. All right, many of you know that I went to Spain back in March on my March break with a group of students, and while I was there, I couldn't pass up going to some record shops. I found bands called Los Planetas. I also got Black is Black by Los Bravos on a 45, so a single. But the album that I got that was most intriguing, and I find it just fantastic, is this Triana album, Hijos del Agoblo, which is, it's very unique. I locked in with this cover, which is kind of a creepy cover, but I think it's a neat cover. But it's like 70s prog psyche music, but it has like some flamenco style to it. So I thought that this was a really cool steal, and the record shop that I went to, the guy that was working that day was fantastic. I think I might have been the owner, or at least a part owner, and he played me songs from Spain, recent bands, 70s bands that were popular on Spotify, and he had me hooked on a lot of those albums. So Triana was probably my favorite of those. Back to the 90s. I know that this one's not like super hard to find, but when it comes to completionism, Primus is probably one of my favorite bands of the 90s. Definitely my favorite alternative band of the 90s. Les Claypool, my favorite bassist of all time. And yeah, the Brown album was one that I've been looking for quite some time. The next two albums after this, Anti-Pop and I think it's Green Naugahyde, I think is the album, what it was called. I've still got to get those, plus the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory album. But other than that, I am pretty much done with Primus. I almost have all their work. So Found that one also in North Bay. The Brown album, if you're not familiar with it, definitely a change in sound. They did a song that went single, Shake Hands with Beef. Not the most acclaimed album by Primus, but once again, if you were a Primus completist, gotta have the Brown album. All right, my first, I would say, record store day or Black Friday day sale that I've ever purchased was Harum Scarum's Anthology, Volume 1. This is a really good album if you are looking for 90s. I wouldn't call it hair metal. That's not what we're going to call it. We'll call it just 90s rock, but they're a Canadian rock band, 90s and 2000s. No Justice would be the big track that they released in the early 90s, but slowly slipping away, honestly. Blue, If There Was a Time. Side 1 of this greatest hits is awesome. And then side 2, it's good, but it's more their 2000s music, so a change in style. It's taken me a little bit to get into that, but love side 1 of Harum Scarum's Anthology. Like I said, pretty much my first record store day purchase. I've only talked about this one once. This is a recent purchase, probably from the last month or two, and that is a guy by the name of Steven Sanchez. I know that Lloyd down in Australia, Mr. Hats, definitely likes this. This is Angel Face. If you are into, say, the Righteous Brothers or the Everly Brothers, this is a, I guess, 2022, 23 album done, like I said, by Steven Sanchez, and he kind of recreates that style of early 60s, like I said, Everly Brothers, Righteous Brothers sound. And you can tell even just by the look of the cover, and that includes the back of the album cover, that he kind of plays on that 1950s and 60s style. So really neat stuff. And this one is on the Mercury label, but the Mercury Red. Really good. Check that out if you haven't. Probably one of the best, I think, records of between 2020 and 2025. And my final purchase that I think is relevant to talk about before I get into the VCLT and things like that is my Alice in Chains Jar of Flies. I also got a couple of others of Alice in Chains, the Facelift album for sure, but Jar of Flies, the EP, I don't have the one with Sap, the other EP on it, but this here for me is start to finish a perfect grunge album. Rotten Apple, Nutshell, I Stay Away, No Excuses, Whale and Wasp, Don't Follow, Swing on This. Absolutely fantastic. And you know, it's more of a mellow grunge album. This isn't like super heavy or anything like that, but it definitely shows Lane Staley's vocal range, so to speak. So if you haven't checked this one out, man, do so. I learned about this in university from my next door neighbors who were playing it on CD one day. I was just happened to have the doors open, heard it, asked them about it, and yeah, I was hooked at that point. All right, so that was my final purchase, and now I've got some VCLTs that I got throughout the year, and then I will talk about my final 3 albums that I got recently in the last month, usually basically through Christmas. So Rob and Joe from Racer Records and Northern Revolution sent me an OG of Richie Valens' album, self-titled. Of course, this is the one that has La Bamba and Donna on it, but it is, and Come On, Let's Go, fantastic. One of the last ones he released before his sudden passing in that plane crash in 1959, the day that music died. I think it was 1959, 58 or 59. But Richie Valens, you know, we were joking about this on our channel, that it was one that I always wanted to get, always wanted to have. Then all of a sudden I see it in the mail as a VCLT. So Richie Valens was one of them. And then also from Joe, I also got a couple of other Bruce Springsteens. The first one being Greetings from Asbury Park. So that is there. One of the early ones by Bruce. Of course, this is the one that has Blinded by the Light. Bruce on this stamp in the middle, but an OG pressing. Greetings from Asbury Park. I also received, as VCLT, Bruce Springsteen, The Wild, The Innocent, the E Street Shuffle album. So that was cool. And of course, there they are in their early phase. Great stuff. So VCLT with some Bruce Springsteen. And then from Tim Brownrigg, who doesn't have a YouTube channel yet, but he comes on as a guest often on our Wednesday night show. He sent me Glass Tigers Diamond Sun, but he had a copy that was autographed by 3 of the band members. So that was really cool. And I mean, I have Diamond Sun, but I probably won't play this. Also realized that this here, I believe, is a Columbia House, I think, press. Yes, Columbia House. So it is a club edition autograph copy by the band. So once again, thank you, Joe and Rob and Tim, for the VCLT. And then this is going to bring me to the last 3 albums that I got in 2025. So I couldn't do this video without showing this. I did buy this Nickelback Best of Volume 1. I know that Nickelback gets a lot of crap. They get shit on. But I like Chad Kroeger and the guys. And this has all their hits up until, I think, When We Stand Together and Animals. So Photograph, How You Remind Me, Burn It to the Ground, Rockstar, Someday, If Everyone Cared, Gotta Be Somebody, If Today Was Your Last Day. The whole thing is loaded with hits. There's the guys there. Chad Kroeger, of course, lead singer right there. So had to throw that in. And then to finish out 2025, I got 2 records from my wife. First one being The Life of a Showgirl, Taylor Swift. Wasn't expecting this, and it's really cool. It's got, I'm going to try to do this hopefully safely. It is a top load. But I'm not sure if you can see it through. I'll take it out of the sleeve here. But it is, I don't know if you can see it, but it is an orange glitter edition. And of course, this is definitely for me. I think it's a change. She's definitely getting, I wouldn't say aggressive, but I would say her lyrical content has definitely changed. She is not that 16-year-old country singer that we once used to know. So The Life of a Showgirl. And I am going to finish this off with one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Bloodsport. And this is the Bloodsport soundtrack. Of which I can recite all of the lines from this movie, and that includes through all the songs that are on there. So it kind of does the whole start to finish from, the opening track, Kumite, to the Fight to Survive, which ends the movie on the outro. So really cool. Claude Van Damme, Bolo Young. Wonderful movie. If you haven't watched it, cult classic, you are missing out. So that is that. Those were my, I did get quite a few other records throughout the year through yard sales and flea markets and stuff like that, but those are the main ones. So that is how I'm going to end this. I wish everyone well going into 2026. And, I'm just going to go into the new year trying to find other albums and stuff. Probably won't be purchasing too many of them, as it is difficult to get in and out of here. But if I see one that catches my eye, we will probably be doing a year in review in December of 2026. So without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye. And if you are new to my channel, give me a thumbs up, click the subscribe button. And for all of you that have continued with me, I am almost at 300 subscribers. Thank you for sticking with me, and I hope that you enjoy the content of 2026 coming up. So take care, everyone, and we will see you in the new year. Bye now.